I am back. It has been well over a month, but yeah, lots going on in my personal life, man. I mean, a lot of y'all have been following me for like years, so shout out to all of y'all. Continuing to stick around, still guard your grill, But on a personal note, your man, after really all my life, I have left South Florida and currently in North Carolina, man. Officially. So, part of my absence, man, just had to get things situated in the new domicile, new state. A lot of rain going on. There's really a lot of rain going everywhere, but yeah, man, I'm back, man. I'm official, settled, ready to go. So still, I'm obviously still watching the sport, man. I mean, obviously, we're coming off. It was the last week of the weekend with Boots. Saw the return of Boots' DAZN debut, and again, there's. I wanted to make a video about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, he got the win. I guess we'll see what his next course of action is, because we've heard things such as Connor Ben and some of these other names mentioned, but it doesn't seem, I know, and I'll get to Crawford in a second, but I mean, I think we've been hearing these talks about people wanting to see Boots in there with Crawford, and like I get it. I just think he needs to be a little more active. I'll just say that. Like, I just think he needs to be a little more active, and to really get into contention for that fight to be really big, man. And I think this is what people need to realize. I don't want to make a drawn out video as far as comparing like why people want to see a Canelo Benavidez fight and why people want to see a Crawford and Boots fight, and why one fight makes more sense than the other to make, even though there's a high probability neither fight gets made. Like just being realistic, right? But we'll see what happens with Boots, man. I mean, he's still young, but he's like 30 fights in, and I think right now, and I guess we'll see what Eddie Hearn and DAZN and Matrim's their trek is to getting Boots in there in notable fights. I think, if at anything, in the immediate, I think what Matchroom and DAZN's, and maybe even like Boots' team, is really just to get him busy. Have him busy. Have him fight more than once a year, like for like a couple of years in a row. So I think that they just need to do that, and if a Conor Ben fight presents itself, for Boots, I mean, monetarily it might do well for him, but again, they just need to keep him busy. And I think that's probably going to be, for Boots, the immediate in like this first year with them. Oh, so we'll see. But August 3rd, we have what initially, man, was going to be, and I think it still is. It's still a good card, man. But we were going to have, obviously, the main event, Terrence Crawford going for a 4th division world title against now new WBA junior middleweight champion Israel Madrimov. That is the main event, but I think a lot of the boxing fans were very excited about was not so much the main event, but was the undercard, or the co-main, if you will, that was going to pit Tim Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz. I mean, that would have been a premier fight, man, easily. But then Tim Tszyu had to bow out because he still had a fresh cut from the fight that he had with Fundora, which he lost, funny enough. But that was gonna be I was actually more excited for that fight than the Crawford Madrimov fight. But then underneath that, you have what do you call it, Pitbull and your man, why am I drawing a blank? And Andy Ruiz and Rayo, and Andy Ruiz is fighting Big Baby Miller. I completely forgot about that too. So you got like both Andy Cruz, the Cuban phenom, 100th lightweight, and then you have The other Cuban, why am I drawing a blank again? I've been watching, man. It's just like, again, so much going on. Morel, sorry. All those people are on the card. So that's August 3rd. It's going to be, and for those of you who aren't aware from what I read today, and I guess Turki Al-Sheikh is kind of he really is becoming this power broker, because I thought this fight was going to be on the Zone. In the United States, it's going to be ESPN pay-per-view. So I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. So that, and it's interesting because you would think ESPN and Top Rank have this exclusive like partnership, but from what I gather, they are televising this card. You know, like it popped up yesterday. So, hey man, let's see what happens. But let's get to the main event, okay? I'm looking forward to the card, but obviously the meat and potatoes, Terence Crawford, Israel Madrimov. This is going to be Crawford's 4th attempt at a world title, or attempt at a 4th division world title. And, you know, Madrimov, I've seen Madrimov fight a few times. I don't think early on this is going to be an easy fight for Crawford. But the thing I feel we're starting, not even starting, but I mean, I think a lot of us are already seeing, like, Crawford is a special talent. But I think it's pretty apparent that it's going to take a special fighter to beat him. You know, I think any fighter in boxing is beatable. You know, there's nobody that's unbeatable, so to speak. It's really who you get in the ring with. But there's certain guys that it's going to take somebody special. And Crawford's one of those guys. Whether you like the guy or not, like, I think it's apparent that when you look in and around from 147 pounds to 160, 168, you can maybe only count, I mean, really, like, you guys tell me, man, like, I've seen people pick Boots or Canelo. But when you look at the whole landscape, how many people would you, like, really throw your money at to beat Terence Crawford? And I think when you say that, it kind of brings you back, like, damn, okay, yeah, like, it's why people are talking of the prospect of him fighting Canelo, even though some people are picking Canelo because he's too big. But it's just the allure of it speaks a lot about Crawford being able to beat much of those guys anyway. So it's like, all right, well, why don't you just try to slay the beast, so to speak, right? But, like, first things first. I think with Terence Crawford, what people got to remember too, man, this guy has not gone to the cards since, was it 2016, 2017? He's had like 8-9 straight knockouts. He has not, here's a statistic. He has not gone to the cards in his entire welterweight run. Does anybody see that? Like, anybody notice that? You know, and I was talking to ROD the other day. I was like, yo, do you realize, like, Bud has not had a fight go to the cards, like, in his entire run at welterweight? So the idea that, like, he's gonna go up to 154 and potentially not have that power, I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think it's more like going to 160, 168, where potentially those little things, again, the twitch muscles, the speed, I still think at those weights, Crawford's not somebody you're gonna, like, want to sit there and get hit by. But at some point, you going up in weight, there's going to be concessions you're gonna have to give up, you know, physically. And that's where a lot of fighters historically, when they've gone up in weight, the fighters that have done great have been able to bring all their arsenal, you know, not just the power and the speed, but like this, you know. So, and we know Crawford's a very smart fighter, and I think with Madrimov, he's technically the bigger guy, but I think Crawford, again, still has the longer reach, which he knows how to use. And this is what I try to explain to people. Like, if you got a fighter in there, if you're dealing with a fighter that understands range, and this is why Shakur Stevenson is such a tough guy to fight, not unbeatable, but very difficult to beat, because when you get a guy in there that understands range, that's a hard thing to deal with all night. And with Terence Crawford, you got somebody that's got, like, dynamite coming at you, you know? And he knows, and the thing with Crawford is like you don't see, he times you in a way where you don't see the punches coming. So I think with Madrimov, he could hit, you know, like, and I think Crawford just has to be kind of, you know, because sometimes Crawford, and this happens with a lot of, like Ray Leonard would do this sometimes. Ray Leonard, because he was a very offensive-minded fighter, like he would put himself in the line of danger. When you're throwing, you're doing that off proxy. But what happens sometimes is Crawford, he gets a little lazy sometimes with his defense, and he'll get hit sometimes. But the thing with Crawford I've seen historically is like he makes these little adjustments. Like he understands when he makes a mistake. And you very rarely, this is another statistic with him, you rarely see him make the same mistake twice. Go through all his fights, whether it was Mean Machine where he got clipped, Gamboa where he got clipped. There was another fight where I was like, oh, he needed to make an adjustment, but he always makes the adjustment. He figures it out. And that's why I talk about this. So Madrimov is going to have to deal with that. Like, Madrimov, I think he's very straight. Like, you always hear it turn straight up and down. Like, he'll rock back. He'll lead with a jab, and he tries to hit you with his power hand. But I think Crawford, again, he dissects these fighters, and after the second round, a lot of the times he figures you out. I go to Errol Spence. This was the premier fight in boxing, and he figured out that guy in one round. Like, one round. So, I think Madrimov, I think what's going to get him in this fight is just, again, lack of experience. I think maybe believing Crawford's the smaller guy in here. But when he starts to feel some of the shots that are going to be coming back at him, and you got to remember, man, Crawford, he's noted as like a small guy, but the guy spars like super middleweights. He spars light heavyweights. And, you know, there's a story going around, and I'm not mentioning names or nothing, but you guys have heard this like a little, like some time ago. He apparently sparred a known heavyweight, and I'm not gonna say anything as far as who I've heard, but apparently he hurt this heavyweight, okay, in sparring. But you didn't hear that from me, okay? But truth be told, Crawford has been in there with middleweights. He sparred Carlos Adamez early on. There's footage of that. So I don't think junior middleweight's really going to be a big issue for him at all, man. I really don't. I think he's going to be just as strong and just as fast as he was a welterweight. So I got Crawford winning this fight. Again, late stoppage, man. I just think it's going to be the same thing. I just think Madrimov, he's a good fighter. He's just very inexperienced, and he hasn't seen anything close to this. Like, Crawford has seen Madrimov's style. I've seen Madrimov fight. I've seen his style before, and Crawford has seen his style before. So I don't think it's going to be this leap in competition. So I got Crawford winning this by like a late stoppage. The question now is going forward. What's the approach? The way you're seeing materialize, it's pretty much Crawford's got like two options. One of them, he's not going to have a choice of whether it happens or not, okay? But the way it's looking like, right now you have Fundora fighting Spence, I believe in October, for the WBO and WBC belt. Or let me backtrack. The WBO might be off the table, okay? There's the WBC. From what I'm hearing now, Tim Tszyu and Lubin are fighting for an IBF eliminator. And then you got Crawford fighting for the WBA. I'm hearing the WBO might, you know, somehow end up around Blood's waist. But don't quote me. But lo and behold, man, like he's in a position where he could end up becoming undisputed at 154 sooner than later. Okay, so my man is saying the WBO and WBA are on the line. Maybe I missed the WBO, and did they officially strip Fundora? Or did he officially give it up? I did hear that. I did hear that they were going to. I just didn't hear that it was made official. I did hear that the WBO was trying to push for it. So if that's the case, then you got two belts already on the line. You got one happening in October, and then whatever happens with the IBF. But because the thing I was worried about with Crawford is like if this Canelo fight doesn't push through, right? And I still think they're gonna try to make it for next May. They're gonna try, okay? But if it doesn't work out for Crawford, at least he has a contingency plan. You know, because the thing, look, he's turning 37 this year, man. This September he's turning 37. You know, his next fight. No, I'm sorry. That's in a couple of weeks. Like, he'll be 36 still. By the time he were to fight, let's just say Canelo, he'd be 37 years old. Canelo just turned 34, by the way. So, I feel like if it doesn't happen next May, maybe next September, I don't know. I mean, I'm just at the point where it's like, all right, well, are we going to get like a 38-year-old Crawford versus a 35-year-old Canelo? Like, do we want to see that? I don't know. I mean, I think it's one or the other. I mean, if he doesn't land a Canelo fight, I think Crawford's probably going to... If he doesn't land undisputed at 154, I think potentially it could end up being like a full... like some kind of unification. So Crawford has a plan. You know, there's plans there, you know. But I think a year and a half, 2 years tops, and I think we see Crawford like call it a career. Whatever happens. So, but in any case, let's get past this. Not next Saturday, the Saturday after. Crawford, Terrence Crawford, Israel Madrimov for my man saying, I'm going to confirm, I'm going to check after I get off of here if the WBO is officially on the line. But for sure, the WBA, and not the regular version, this is the official WBA Junior Middleweight Championship. That is held by Israel Madrimov. That will be taking place August 3rd from the BMO Stadium in LA. This is Turkey Al Sheikh's Riyadh season like cards, the first official one in the United States. Like I said, you got Pitbull and Ryo on the undercard. You got David Morrell's gonna be featured. Andy Cruz is gonna be featured. You're gonna see Big Baby Miller against Andy Ruiz. There's a lot of fights, man. I'm very excited for this card, to be honest with you, man. I'm very excited for this card. Got my father-in-law coming in, OG boxing head. He's looking forward to watching it. So that is not next Saturday, the Saturday after, August 3rd, live from the BMO Stadium in California. So what do you see happening? Do you see Terrence Crawford getting another stoppage? Does Madrimov have a good chance of upsetting the apple card against, you know, a fighter that's a lot of us still consider, you know, number 1, 2, 3 in the world? My man saying he wants to see how Morrell looks at 175. Is this fight at 175? I thought it was at 168, so he is moving to 175. Good. My thing is, man, if Canelo's gonna stick around and like keep holding the belts at 168, just move up. You know, like what are you gonna wait around? So, but then there's the whole thing with the WBC trying to mandate the Benavidez fight. You know, to make it seem like, oh well, they're making the concession that what's to stop Canelo from just like vacating the belt, you know, like he did it with Triple G. So like where we sitting here, we're like, oh, they're gonna force the hand to Canelo. Like, come on, man. Like, Canelo's the one that puts money in their pockets. You know, it's not. Trust and believe, it's not the other way around. And it's like Canelo. To be fair, Canelo's the one that is giving them, you know, their sanctioning fees and all those things. So, you know, for him to vacate the title, what is, he don't care. You know, what's not gonna stop him? So, but that's it. Enjoy your guys' weekend. I am out. Obviously there's boxing on tonight, you know, courtesy of you know who. And, you know, I watch it. I don't care, man. I watch it all. But beyond that, yeah, man, August 3rd. Let me know what you think. I'm out.